Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Sibling Trap Podcast. I'm your host, Katie Katrina, and over there down in Texas, I'm in Wisconsin, by the way. I don't know if we've talked about this, but I'm in Wisconsin and Barry's in Texas. So we are like literally across the country on his cozy couch. And who ran a half dang marathon again today? How are you sure? Why did we schedule this on this day? I'm a little bit like, what were we thinking?
Yeah, I mean, we're really busy coming up this week. I think with the holidays for Thanksgiving, I have a really big commitment to Black Friday for my job because we're like the Amazon of guns. So it's like, dude, people are just buying like crazy, especially with the deals that we're putting out this week. Holler at Primary Arms. But yeah, I think we just needed it to be today. I have a lot of free time today after the race, and despite how I feel, I got this beautiful, comfy couch to sit on. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not in my little study area at my desk. I'm on the couch for the comfort today. So
I'm
I'm really
glad.
excited.
And it's
Feels
so
good.
fun because like last time, last time you did a race, it was fun to like track you on the map, which was a cool feature. But today I woke up and I just felt like I had to move my body. Like I knew that you were out running and I'm like, I gotta get outside. I gotta go out running. So it's like I channeled the twin brain, the twin I don't even
Energy.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Twin
So like
energy.
I got out and I walked for like 2.5 miles and then you called me from the finish line, which was so cool. I was like, oh my God, he's calling me. Is everything okay? Like I thought you heard it for a minute, but that was a really sweet moment. Um, and I
Yeah,
felt honored that you called me.
I didn't really have anybody there. Like, so Santa Barbara was 2 weeks ago, and don't judge me for picking 2 week back to back half marathons. It was a benchmark I just wanted to complete. But I didn't have anybody there. I mean, I had like the gym owner of the old gym that I used to work at. He actually got first place in our age group. Awesome guy, baller.
Oh,
He's a beast. But I didn't really have anybody to mingle with after. I didn't have anybody like waiting at the finish line. It was all me. It was all me solo. And that kind of like fuels what we're going to talk about today. But it was the only person I could think to call right away was you, because I was in such an emotional moment. I was like, you know, tears flowing, super proud of my outcome today. I was super proud of how hard I put out. It was so tough. We ran over so like people who are around here know what the Fred Hartman Bridge is, but geez, man, I never really noticed because when you drive over it, you don't realize how steep it gets. And it was, I mean, I want to say I looked at the Nike Run app and we did over 500 feet in elevation change
oh
today.
my
And
God.
I was like very, very
Winded.
winded. Yeah, my legs were very tired. I would say like my time was right around the same time as Santa Barbara finishing time. So, it was great. It was great. I had a great time today. So
And can I just say that we have talked more in the last like I mean, I guess probably the last 9 months or
yeah,
so than we have in our
yeah.
entire lives. And it's just so much fun to like really be like texting or voice messaging or calling each other every day. Like we've
It's
talked a
been
lot this
great.
weekend. And so when you called me yesterday, it's okay if I share this. My son, because his iPad is linked to my phone, and he saw your name pop up and he's like, oh, again? Why is Uncle Barry
Again.
calling you again? I'm like, dude, chill out. Just press, ignore whatever.
I'm like, scooch over. I'm part of this now too. Yeah.
Oh, it's so funny. But yeah,
Grayson's
I've
so
enjoyed
great.
it. It's feisty. I don't know where he
He's
gets it
like
from.
you. Yeah, right. Oh, that's great.
Okay. Well, all that aside, what do you want to talk about today? Because I think you have some notes for today, right?
Yeah, I've done a lot of thinking in the last couple weeks. November is Men's Mental Health Month. We had talked about doing like not like a specific podcast to reflect Men's Mental Health Month, but to kind of talk about men's mental health and what it takes to achieve that. The awareness level and what it takes to dig yourself out of depression and dig yourself out of like bad situations, and how to remain positive as a man, and as men, And, not only that, but like having the emotional spectrum, larger than a 10-year-old. I thought about it a lot on the run today. I've had a tough time in the last few weeks with like a lot of outside influences trying to chip away at my mental health. As much as I can say I've stayed resilient, I've tripped a couple of times, and I'm man enough to admit that. But going forward, it's really how I want to maintain that mental awareness and improve my mental health. Recently, I've had a lot of people, they're talking about the podcast. They're talking about where I am in life based off of where I was 6 months ago. It's funny because we're not really talking about specific people in our podcast, but it seems like a lot of people are getting butthurt or feeling like we're talking directly about them. And to be honest, I'm not. I've seen a lot of similarities in previous relationships and previous friendships that I've been able to generalize a lot of those together. And if you're listening to this and you feel like I'm talking about you, well, lace the fucking shoe up and put that motherfucker on. It really just boils down to, if you feel like I'm singling you out, I'm really sorry, but I'm not. And it's just, if you're out there and you're talking about me to other people, just know it's getting back to me. I'm just not acknowledging it at this point. I don't care. I'm not listening to it. You can talk whatever you want. My podcast is still going to be super successful at the end of the day. So
I think that it's just part of, I don't want to say collateral damage, but just comes with the territory. Whenever you show up online and you are courageous enough to share your truth, people don't like that.
they don't. They're
And
intimidated. I feel like intimidation is everything.
yeah. And I know that I talk about this a lot in my posts because this is a very tricky year for me to navigate, being that I'm standing in my truth, but also not putting anyone else into a bad spotlight, which is a very tricky balance
It
because
is,
we're all
yeah.
at fault, really. But at the
I
end
mean,
of the
everybody
day,
makes mistakes. You're right. Yeah.
exactly. And and at the end of the day, like you are always going to be the villain in someone else's story. And the sooner that
So
we
true.
just like accept it and stop trying to change someone else's narrative, the sooner that we can really be free and step into our true, truth, I guess, and not let them affect us.
Right. Yeah. Like you said, everybody's gonna, make up a story that works in their favor. You know, the funniest thing about me is I don't really care, because like they're gonna lie, they're gonna tell half truths, they're only gonna tell their side of the story. It doesn't bother me because I know the truth. I know what really happened. I know how that person was acting. I mean, they're gonna spin everything I say regardless. I could be, speaking the whole truth, and they're probably going to say, well, that's not exactly what happened, because it's all based on perspective, and it really is. It's all situational dependent. I'm not here to prove anybody right or wrong. I'm not here, like, we're not doing this podcast to shame anybody. I'm not on this podcast to talk smack about anybody. This podcast is designed for you and me to connect, for us to talk about our perspectives and about our viewpoints, and it's designed to help people. And I'm serious. I'm helping. Like, people will come to me all the time and message me, "Oh my god, I loved last week's episode on love bombing. I didn't know what that really was like until you guys talked about it, and after that, it made a lot of sense." And it's so empowering. It feels so good, Katie. Like, to hear that we're helping people.
I'm jealous. I get like one person that messages me a week, and I'm like, what? Is anyone out there liking what I'm putting out? Like, we're working.
Dude,
Oh, my daughter said she'll message me.
well, there's two.
Right? And I'm
No,
like, I love hearing
I
that
try to
though.
share. Well, I try to share with
Yeah.
you all the time when people are very receptive and they give back the feedback, and that's really what it is. And that's what it's about, and the fact that like I'm not out here trying to warn anybody about specific people. I'm not like, hey, watch out, this person does this person does that. But like, people are still doing that to me, and it's coming back to me, and I'm just like, well, I mean, if you're gonna believe them, then believe them. I don't care. Like, I'm not invested. I don't give a shit. So it's weird to me because like the podcast is so impactful, and like we have lots of listeners in lots of countries all across the world, and I'm so proud of it. And of course it makes sense that people are going to chip away at that because it's something great. It really is, and people are listening. And like I said, I'm not talking about anybody specific, and if they feel like that, then I'm sorry, but you're just going to have to grow up. And the fact that you're listening,
Thanks.
maybe I'll help you one day. Maybe
Yeah.
something I say will make a connection in your brain, and you'll be like, oh man, you know. But most of those people they're just too emotionally immature to understand like the growth, and that's all it is about. Like I'm trying to grow in a way that is so healthy that all the negativity in my life just washes away. And I'm not out here slumming. I'm not out here dating terrible women. I'm not looking for anybody to make anybody jealous. I'm trying to attract a partner for who I'm gonna be, for who I want to be,
You're
not for who I
becoming.
was. Yeah, yeah, for who
Yeah.
I want to become, not for somebody that I was. And
Mhm.
that's really what it ends up being at the end of the day. It's like I am trying to attract positivity in my life. I'm trying
Mhm.
to build things, positive things. I'm not trying to be negative or go backwards. Um,
So
and
you brought
like,
something up to me the other day, when we were talking, and you're like, I just don't know how you're like speaking to me. You were saying like, I don't know how you're getting through what you're going through, but while having
wow,
a positive mindset. And
right.
so I said something to you. Do you remember what it was? Like, whenever you're feeling like there's a negative attack on your soul or your mental load, like, how do you show up, and like, what perspective can you take on?
Yeah, I mean, you just ignore it, right? Is what you said. You just kind
No,
of no.
no, more than that. Do you remember the other one that you're like, that makes so much sense?
I
Okay.
ran 13 miles
I
today.
valid. I told you, I'm
Refresh
like,
me.
you, I said to you, you have to think of it like when you're on the battlefield. This is an attack
Right.
on you, and you need to compartmentalize it and not like literally just shutting off your emotions. I know that it's
That's
not
right.
fun,
Yeah.
but that's literally how I've gotten through the last year, where I'm like, I cannot feel this. So I'm not.
And it makes sense. I know my reaction to that was, oh, I don't want to go backwards and have to
Yeah.
relearn how to forget about my emotions. But it's something very similar to a lot of experiences in my life. And you're right. It would work really well. And I'm doing that now. And what's crazy to me is like I have people reaching out and giving me advice, right? And advice is like a loose term because when somebody gives you advice, they tend to want the best for you and they want you to be better. That's what advice is. When somebody reaches out and they just plainly talk shit about you or talk shit to you, I mean, it's just so negative, and I just ignore it. Honestly, I'm just like, all right, well,
Mhm.
I'm not taking any of that, and I'm just gonna pretend like you never messaged
You've
me.
literally wasted both of our time. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So the funny part about it is, it's not really compartmentalizing my emotions. It's really just, taking what's being said and learning from it, and then also just, and I don't want to say ignoring it, but it's like, yo, I'm doing so much better. I'm in so much better of a place. Like I'm focusing on my goals. I the best revenge is living a happy life, but I'm living such a happy life. Like I love the home that I've created for me and my son. I love my job. Oh my god, I love showing up every day. The guys I work with and the ladies I work with, they're just, everybody is so wholesome, and everybody is a great time to be around. Um, and my running goals, I'm crushing my running goals, And obviously running is very healthy, and it makes me look great and it makes me feel great. So like, what is it that I need to really ignore? I mean, it's really not about ignoring the negativity. It's about just looking at the positives and remaining positive, because I'm looking at what I'm achieving and what all these haters are saying, and I'm like, oh, proof is in the pudding, bitches. Like, and that's really the truth. And I hate to be rude, but it's like, yo, like, you can talk all this shit behind my back to all the people that'll listen, but I'm still out here getting it. I'm still out here achieving. I'm out here growing, and I'm out here happier than I've ever been in my life. So that's really what it boils down to. And I'm just looking at those things, and I'm so thankful. I have so many things to be thankful for, Katie. Like the last 6 months was a very dark time for me, and the growth that I've experienced in that 6 months is really what I'm most thankful for. And if none of those things had happened leading up to that, then I wouldn't be where I am today. And I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for the terrible experience because it's shown me a lot. It's shown me so much about what I'm willing to accept and what I'm not willing to accept, about how to create boundaries, about how to maintain a healthy relationship. And sometimes we have to stumble, we have to fall, things have to fall out of place for you to be able to experience the good in life, and what you do deserve. And that's what I'm here for every day. And that's where I know that my life is going. So, I have so much important stuff going on in my life. Like I have a seminar coming up at the NASA Space Center.
What? That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I'm teaching firearms safety and firearms handling during safety week at Johnson Space Center, like on
That's
the
massive.
Ellington Air Base.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and I'm so excited. Like, I'm building PowerPoints and stuff, and I'm also teaching license to carry classes at work to all our employees. Like, I'm getting things done in my life. These are things that I only dreamt about. I only dreamt about last year, like throughout this year.
And I think that that
And
goes into like every time that we energetically release something in our lives, in our past, something else opens up for you. And I know that you kind of were like, does it really work that way? But like it actually does.
I'm a
Example.
believer now.
I,
Absolute believer now.
People think that it's woo, but it's so real, right? So there was this job that I really wanted that was like perfect for me on paper, like, marketing position, like a small team, like we want someone that will grow with us and we're fine if you have your own, stuff on the side. I was like, this is perfect. And I do really well on camera. I'm really good with people. And I was like, this is great energy. I feel like I got it in the bag. And every time at the end of an interview, I always ask, well, what are you looking for that you don't see in me? And then the other person
It's a
is
great
like,
question.
thank you. I know, right?
Stumped. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. And then the other person was like, actually, I don't think there's anything that you don't have. Right. So I thought it was in the bag. And
Yep.
a week goes by and I didn't hear about it. And I was really stressing out. I'm like, dude, I really want this job. This is really annoying. And so at that point, I'm like, I'm just going to let it go. I'm going to let it go. I'm taking this as a sign I'm not getting the job. Not even kidding you, within 2 hours after me, like just saying, I'm releasing it. I'm fully surrendering. I'm not going to stress about it anymore. It's not meant for me.
You got the
Within
reply.
two,
Yeah.
with no, not even
Oh,
within 2 hours, I got number one, I had invested in a virtual assistant mentorship with someone I really wanted to work with. And they let me into the whole academy like 2 weeks early. And I was like, awesome, I can get started. And then also I found the listing for the part-time job that I'm starting this week.
that's right.
All
Yeah, yeah.
like within 30 minutes after the 2 hours, I was like, oh my God, like because I energetically let it go, the
Right.
universe was like, okay, you're ready for this now. So like just thinking about like that chapter is done in your life and like cutting off all the ties that you possibly have, what's now opening up for you?
My God. I mean, that reminds me of the phone call we had, yesterday. And it's just
Yeah.
crazy to me because I've never believed it. I've never believed in this kind of
It's so
stuff.
much
And
fun
it,
watching you.
thank you. But no, it's incredible to me because you're right. Once you bury the coffin completely and you just give up on whatever energy that is, the universe is like, yo, bro, it took you long enough, but here's what I've been waiting, to give you.
Exactly.
here is that opportunity. And speaking of that opportunity, I'm so excited about it. Oh man. It's so good.
It
It's
feels
so
aligned.
nice to know. It does.
Yeah.
It does. And it's funny because like I've told you about it. I've told Scott and Hannah out in California about it. And everybody is very supportive and everybody's like, yeah, man, this is it. This is what you've been waiting for. This is what you've been growing for. And I literally, after I got off the phone with you, I saw one of those Instagram quotes and it was like, you know, along the lines of, you didn't settle because of this specific reason, or soon you'll find out the reason why you never settled or whatever,
Perfect.
and that has to do with so many things in life, like career, apartments, houses, relationships, friendships. I mean, it's just, you really have to look at things like, am I settling for this? Am I just doing this because I know it's comfortable? Am I just doing this because I know it's easy? And like, oh, am I doing this because it gets me a lot of attention? And like the podcast has been hard for us to schedule and to align our
Busy.
schedules. We're busy. You have a lot going on. I've got a lot going on. We've always found the time, and
We made it. We made it a priority.
yeah, we're making it a priority. And that's the cool thing about it is I feel like I've settled for a lot of different careers. I've settled for a lot of different jobs, especially like in the bar industry. And when I settled for those jobs, I settled for the friendships that came with them, and the stuff that came with that. And it's just like, like I'm finally setting a bar high enough to where it's hard for people to reach. I'm setting the boundaries that need to be set, and I'm making priorities in my life that have never been main priorities. Like talking with you, I know it's been tough for the last decade since I've been out of the Marines, but I feel like I just haven't been there for you, and I hate that, and I'm making that a priority. Talking to you and doing the podcast with you, it's just so important to me, and look at how much growth I've experienced because of it. So I just want to tell you I love you.
I love you too. Also, disclosure, my kids are home. This is, like finding time. We're making time, right? 6 o'clock at night.
Absolutely.
And so voices in the background, we'll
It's
just,
okay.
thanks for listening.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's so much fun to think about how much you've grown. I mean, just from my point of view in the last 6 months, because dang, we're going through a hell of a lot of a year. Like this is a year that
A year
there's
of
so much
change.
bad, but there's so much good because we have each other.
Right.
And it's a lot more bearable because we do that.
But yeah, and it's crazy to me because for so long I remained the same. I was so comfortable with who I was, where I was in life. I finally realized this year that I cannot remain the same. I cannot. It has been so painful to stay in the same old habits and the same relationship choices. And like, it's just, I have changed so much in the last 6 months that I'm like, I look back and like I told you today, like I should just beat my ass. My old self should just whoop his ass, go back in time. And
No.
you spun it around and it was so beautiful. I was like, oh, I'm gonna cry. But you were like, no, you should be high-fiving that dude. And you should be hugging him and saying, hey, we fucking made it.
Yeah.
We made it. And I know in the next 5 years, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to turn around and look at who I was today, and I'm going to hug me. I'm going to
Say
say, hey,
thanks for not
man,
giving up.
we made it. We're making it day in
Yeah.
and day out and month after month. And dude, I'm getting choked up just thinking about the growth because I was in such a terrible place this year and I have grown so much. And no matter what anybody says, most of those people that are saying things, they're still in the same place. They're still in the same habits. They're still doing the same shit. And it's like, yo, dude, how can you fault me?
Yeah.
How can you fault me one bit? Because I am not the same person.
Yeah, and I had said to you also, I was like, the stones that they throw aren't going to affect you because you're building bulletproof armor and you don't entertain childish games, manipulative tactics. Like that's not what you're here for. And honestly, it's just like I just come back to, we're not that person anymore. We don't do that anymore. We don't talk to that person anymore. It's just not part of our daily routine. So just, it's not even an option.
Just ignoring the drama, ignoring playing their games. And that's really what it's coming out as, is just, I won't do it anymore,
Mm-hmm.
And as sad as it is that, you have to cut those relationships out of your life, they're learning experiences. And I've learned, and I've actually learned from them. Whereas like some people, they never learn. They will never learn. And they're stuck in their old ways and they're not growing. And I don't feel sorry for them because it's a choice. It's a choice. And I've realized that too, that I have to wake up every day and I have to make the choice to grow. I have to make the choice to be uncomfortable. And boy, like these races, I mean, it's all connected, dude. Like I
It
was
is.
so uncomfortable for, 2 hours today. Oh my God, the feeling when you cross the finish line. People you don't even know are cheering, they're screaming, they're clapping. And, after I called you, I stood there for a minute and I did the same thing because you want everybody to feel that amazing feeling of accomplishment after being so uncomfortable for so long. And you're just like, oh, I just want to get there. And like I remember like the last mile, I took a little clip and it was like, oh, we got one more mile to go. And in my mind, I was like, man, one more mile. I just ran 12.1 miles. It was actually a little bit over that, but I was like, let's make this last mile count. And I turned the corner onto the street and I could see the finish line. And I was just like, yeah, something's taken over. My pace picked up. I was just like moving, like my legs and my feet, my knees didn't hurt anymore. And I crossed that finish line with such a smile on my face. I was so happy. And it wasn't because, hey, this is over. It was because, hey, you fucking did it. You did it. And oh my God, what a powerful experience, And there are people in this world that will live their whole lives without experiencing something like that. And it's not just the racing, like the running, it's the things in life. Like there are so many milestones in life that I'm so excited to achieve. And I'm not going to get there unless I'm uncomfortable for a little while, or I have to, save money, like eat crappy food for, weeks and weeks and weeks, and like meal prep and like eat the rice and the eggs and all that stuff. And it's just growth, man. It's really about setting goals and just achieving them. And to be honest with you, I think men's mental health would take, or would be a lot easier if guys were just accepting of being uncomfortable, and like everybody wants to be comfortable. They want that fat bank account that they can just spend money and not have to worry, or, to have the girlfriend that they can come home to every day and know like that girl's there for you. And you're not worried about her ever cheating or, inboxing dudes or whatever. Like those things are all comfortable, but like, a lot of people, they just can't be alone. And that's really crazy to me because I mean, I'm pretty comfortable alone. I love being alone. I love my alone time. I love the time I get to spend with just me and my son. Yeah, it gets lonely at times, but you have to be uncomfortable, because if you're out there just chasing after people, or letting terrible people into your life just because you don't want to feel lonely, like you're just making mistake after mistake after mistake.
I
And
can't wait to be alone. Living under the same roof as someone that you're divorcing for a year is not, I would not recommend. 0 out of 10. No.
right,
So I'm like, I can't, honestly though, like the more that you run, the more that I feel like I need to run. And I'm not a runner, but like I'm excited. I'm sure I'm gonna script about this. We're like, you and I are gonna go on a race together and we're gonna cross the finish line together, and we're gonna get to come on a podcast and we're gonna get to talk about our experience of like training for the moment and then after. Like
yeah,
it's going to happen. It's just we
we've
need to
talked
pick a
about it.
place. I know
Yeah,
we gotta stop talking about it, but I don't want to start running yet.
yeah. Well, you're gonna have to train, and
I know I have to be
it's hard.
uncomfortable.
You have to make yourself uncomfortable, because the reward for it is just, it's so beneficial health wise and mentally. That's the thing, you know, it's, I go for these really, really long runs. And when I'm done with them, yeah, my body hurts, my knees, my feet, everything hurts, but my mind feels so much better, Katie, because I have time to think. I have time to like to listen to music. I kind of low key miss having like a long drive to work because I used to listen to so much music when I work or like driving to work or whatever. But now, you know, it's like on my runs, I throw on a whole running playlist that I have and I listen to music and I think about everything. It's such a mental scrub for me. It's like I'm working out my brain at the same time as I'm killing my body and working out my body, you know? And if men don't have something like that, if they don't have an outlet like that, you're just going to constantly spin your wheels and think about the same things over and over again. And it just chips away at your mental health. It really does. And I've been so guilty of that for so many years. I would ignore my thoughts or I would just sit there and let them just spin me out. And I would dwell on them. I'd be like, oh, what's this person doing while I'm not there? Blah, 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 blah. You know, it's just, and it's terrible because it's so sapping of your energy. I mean, it just makes you depressed, makes you go gray.
Hey,
It
that's
makes,
in now. Okay.
you have no idea how many compliments I've gotten on the
Very.
salt and pepper look.
Do you know
People,
that when I was a
people
kid,
love it.
do you know who my crush was?
What, George Clooney?
Bruce Willis. Like,
Oh
he's such a cool
man,
old guy. I love him.
he's awesome.
Um,
Yeah, great movie
but
star.
I think like for men that feel like maybe they don't have a solid friend group or they don't have a confidant or they feel like they're outgrowing their friend group or they're like, I don't want to be like this forever. I want to be better. I want to push myself into new experiences. By trying a new hobby, you really not only are pushing yourself mentally, but then you're also putting yourself into new situations where you get to meet other people who are doing the same thing and who aren't stuck in that same cycle of negativity and just like toxic.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And what's crazy to me is like I'm in like this running group, and there's so many good-looking people, like men and women in the
You gonna
group.
add me? You gonna add me to the group?
Well, you're gonna have to fly down and run
Shit.
with us, but no, and it's crazy because I never got to run with them because like I moved from Seabrook like right around the time when I joined the group and I came out to Pearland and I mean it's like a 30-minute drive and why would I drive 30 minutes to go run? But I met a bunch of them today at the race because like they're all in the race and stuff,
That's amazing.
and they were like, dude, come run with us, like that would be awesome, like we're really
Aww.
excited to have you. And they were like, yeah, we noticed you joined the group but you never showed up. And I got kind of dimed out and I was like, yeah, I just moved, and you know, I've been wanting to. It's just, you know, I made excuses and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna drive out there this week. I'm gonna go run with
You.
these people. I'm gonna have a great time. And it's crazy to me because like you just have to surround yourself with these like-minded people. And yeah, it's a new hobby of mine, but these are great people, you know? And I'm excited to spend time with like-minded people. And the same thing at work. I had to change my whole career around. I had to pick something different. And Katie, I've dreamt for years. I've dreamt about working at that place. And I had no idea how large it is, like how many employees are there and how important it is. And the team I'm on and what we do is so important to the company. And it's just great. You know, it's great being around like-minded people. And a lot of them are veterans. And it's just like it feels like home to me. It
I
really
love that.
does because we can joke about things and we can have fun at work, but at the same time, like we understand that we have to do our jobs, and our jobs are super important, and we do it and we have a great time every day. I love going to work every day. That's growth,
Did,
you know.
did you have anything else in your notes?
No, and it's funny because like you hit a couple of them for me and I was like, oh, look at this. She's
Ooh, that's fun.
it's the twin energies, the twinergy.
It
Oh,
so
did I coin a
is.
new term? Twinnergy.
Twinnergy. That's amazing.
Yeah. But yeah, and to sum everything up, it's tough out here, not just for guys, but for girls, and mental health is such a big topic for anybody and everybody. And, I've been through a lot in my life. I've been in very terrible mental stages. I've accepted, I've coped. I'm so proud of where I am now. Um, I learned so much this year. Like you said, it's like the year for us both that we just we break out of our shell. We move on into a new chapter, a new book in the series, honestly.
Yeah.
And on a mental health note, it's taken me a long time to forgive and forget, and not necessarily forgive, because if you forgive, then you repeat the same mistakes. You do. You have to remember, but at the same time, you have to understand. I think it's more like remember and understand than forgive and forget. I think that would be a much better way of looking at it. Because if you understand something, you can identify it going forward. And you never want to keep making the same mistakes over and over again, because you're just going to keep hurting yourself and hurting the people around you. And as from a mental health point of view, like I said, you have to accept that you're going to be uncomfortable. You have to accept that things aren't going to go the way that you want them to. Relationships are going to fall apart, friendships are going to fall apart, and you just kind of have to let the universe work in its way.
You have to
Honestly,
release it.
you have to let things go to finally get what you are deserving of, like that. And that's the thing, is like, don't settle. Like, well, you and we've made this pact, like we're not settling for things that aren't worthy of us. And that's the worst part about it, is that for so long I settled for things and people that they just soaked up my energy, and they took away so much from me. Do you feel the same way? Do you feel like you've settled for things that, in the past, that you, now looking back, you would have been like, I would have never done that, or I would have never accepted that job, or let that person into my life, or whatever the case is, like, would looking back, I know, like, it's a learning experience that you have to go through for you to grow and become the person that you are. But like I said, I earlier I felt like I would just pummel my old self, like, why did you do that?
And see, I don't think that I can say that I've settled, because I don't have the wisdom. I didn't have the wisdom then that I do now. Like, I wasn't for sure, like, I know what I was looking for. I know what was a red flag for me. I know, how I could show up in a relationship with a person that is this type of way. But
Right.
now that I know myself a lot better, and I know what kind of love I want in my life and what I'm worthy of having in my life, um, there's some non-negotiables. There's just things that I'm like, if you can't meet me where I'm at, then you're not the one to be in my life right now. So I wouldn't say I
Right.
settled, because I did the best that I could in the moment, knowing what I knew then.
That's a great way to look at it. I never really looked at it like that. So maybe
Like,
I
you can
didn't
only be
settle
aware of
either.
the red flags now that you're out of that chapter or that cycle of repeating things.
I'm gonna mold that around in my brain tonight and think about it, because
Yeah.
I mean, it's so true. I never really looked at it like, in the moment, or whatever season you're in at the time, you're accepting what you feel is okay at the
Well,
time.
here's another thing that I learned on TikTok from actually one of my mentors who like teaches about intimacy and relationships. And God dang, what's going on? She was talking about how a lot of times we find ourselves in these toxic cycles and repeating the same, dating the same person over and over again. It's because that our brain wants us to protect us from the unknown, right? We want what's predictable, and the predictable people are the ones that we've already dated. So it's like, we're going to seek out people that,
Right.
initially
We
attracted
know.
us
Yeah.
before, but it's not serving us in our evolution, which really sucks.
Yeah. And I see that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I look back in my life and I see the exact same person back to back to back. And then,
Yeah, it's like a clone, even though they don't look alike, it's like
Yeah.
Copy, paste, copy, paste. When will we learn?
Wow. Wow.
But we're
I've
learning.
I've never looked at it like that, and wow.
I'm sorry.
It's just crazy to me because I've always tried to just do better every time. The similarities are just incredible to think about, like rolling around in my brain what you just said, and I just think it's crazy that it took so many carbon copies of the same relationship for me to finally be broken so much, like so broken that now I'm like, this is what I want in life. Like, and it's not that, it's something completely different. And settling, and that's where I'm coming from when I say I was settling for the same thing over and over again because it was comfortable, you know. And I don't want that same comfortability. I want the unknown. I want to experience something new. And it's all about growth and change, you know. And I've gotten to this point where it's, I may not understand everything, but at least I understand myself on another level now. And I've taken so much time alone thinking about what I really, really want and what is actually a priority and what values I'm looking for. And I never did that before. I used the same values from previous relationships, and I just, you said, like, I rolled them over and I was like, this is what I'm looking for. This person has all these qualities, these same exact qualities. And for so long, I thought that's what I wanted. And now I'm looking and I'm like, no way, dude. No way, dude.
Yeah. And
So,
like the idea of when we find something that is a safe relationship and a trusting relationship, we have to be very self-aware that we do not sabotage that. And I think that that is going to be the biggest hurdle for both of us, because it's not familiar to us. So our brain and our subconscious is going to be like, nope, we need to shut this down, go back to what we've always known. But
dude,
it's like just telling it to shut the fuck up and sit down, and like everything's okay. It's okay to feel safe in a relationship. It's okay to let yourself trust someone again and let
yeah,
yourself be validated in a relationship. Like just continuing to nurture that part of you that is broken, and like letting them know that, like, I promise I've got your back, you're safe now, is a
dude,
huge thing.
is so powerful to think about. And it's crazy because I'm so guilty of the self-sabotage. Like, we could make a whole episode on the podcast just about self-sabotage.
100%. Yeah.
And I'm guilty of it. And I'm not ashamed to admit it. I have done things that I knew wouldn't go over well with my partner at the time because I felt like I was undeserving. And really, honestly, a lot of it had to do with like the toxicity that was already there, that we were already experiencing. And I just let myself be fueled by that toxicity and create more problems. And dude, it's terrible. It's so terrible. And once you know things are done, once you realize, I've had moments in relationships where I would just be like, oh, well, this is over. Or I can already feel it. I've never had the intestinal fortitude to just be like, let's just end it now, you know? And it gets drug out and it's terrible, but I self sabotage it to make it, you know, end faster. And I should just be a man and grow up and just put an end to it. And
That's amazing.
it's really identifying the fact that I was comfortable and I wanted
Mm-hmm.
that person still, and I wanted to repair or at least make the attempt to repair it. That is so unhealthy, dude. Oh my God, you know? Because at the same time, I'm trying to repair things that are being self-sabotaging. It's like, dude, what are you doing? You know, like, let's just end it. And going forward, I mean, I've already had to experience this a few times. Like, hey, we're just gonna not do this. You know, this is it. That's the end. Move
Yeah.
on. you know.
And I think that I know you and I have talked about this before, but it's a red flag. It's a big red flag if you cannot come, like you yourself cannot come to me and be like, this is who I'm dating. Like, if you are like not proud of the person that you're talking to, like you just gotta shut that down right then.
Yeah, I know. It's terrible because I'm an empath, dude. You know that
Mhm.
about me. I see the good in people, and I'll hold on to that, and I value
You see
that
their
so much more.
potential though. You see their
Yeah,
potential.
right. Yeah. Not, I mean, and I look at the good things about them and I'm like, okay, well, potentially they could be this person in the other departments. And it's not healthy. It's not healthy for
No.
me. It's not healthy for them. And you're totally right. I've prolonged chats with you about these people, and because I know that you just see right through it. I know as soon as you meet somebody and you talk to them for 10 minutes and you're giving me the side eye from across the table, and I'm just like, oops.
Did that really just happen? That's funny.
Yeah, and
Oh,
it's incredible to me because that won't ever happen again, you know.
yeah. But I heard this quote the other day that said, if the person that you're interested in or the person that you're dating is not someone that like if you had like achieved all of your goals, if you were like where you wanted to be in life and money wasn't an object, like you were happy in all the areas of your life, is that the person you'd want on your by your side? Like would you actually want to do life with them? And I was like, dang, that says so much because it's like as they are right now, would you want to just do life with them?
That's incredible to think about. Like our last episode, the last question is like, if you don't have any responsibility, what would you do?
Yeah.
I mean, my answer was definitely not. I wanted to be alone and travel, like, and there's just really nobody that I would spend all of my time with right now. And it's a great way to think about that because
Like who would you travel with?
if you
That's a
can't,
big.
and it's, don't get me wrong by saying this, like everybody needs their alone time and everybody has their own hobbies and everybody does things on their own, but if you cannot spend day in and day out with your partner,
Red flag.
you might want to rethink this. Like, what happens if the end of the world happens and you're
Oh,
stuck
like
in your home?
quarantine.
Like quarantine,
That's
exactly.
great.
I was just thinking about that.
Twins.
And it's funny that like you get put in these situations where that happens and you're just like,
Wake up call.
wow, I don't really know this person like I thought I did,
Oh,
or I don't feel as comfortable with this person as I thought I did. And man, I've been there. I've been put in those situations where I'm just like,
this ain't it.
wow, yikes, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the universe or God or whoever put me in those situations to open my mind, open my eyes and say, look, dude,
Maybe
you
that could
don't
be
you
like
don't belong here.
another. So, like, first of all, sibling vibe check, right? Second of all, you got to travel together. Like, I think that that might be a prerequisite for like a serious thing. It's like, I want to see how you handle adversity, how you
Right.
handle being uncomfortable in a
Diversity. Yeah.
situation, and how we communicate through all of that.
That's incredibly important. And if there's
Communication is
and
everything.
I, and I'm learning so much about what I'm willing to accept in my life because my previous experiences when I got put in those uncomfortable situations and toxicity was what was the factor, the byproduct that came out of it. I just accepted it, and honestly I looked at myself and I was like, oh well, you have a piece of this, like you could do better, you could have done better in that situation, and the other person tended to just gaslight me and
Oh, it's the
make it
worst.
more my fault. And
It's
it's
all our
just
fault.
crazy because I'm like, yo, I self-reflect so much, so much. I'm like, yo, it's my fault. I did this. I know when to apologize. I have apologized so much in my relationships, but I have yet to meet somebody that has the same mentality, that has that same humility, if you want to call it that, where they're like, I'm sorry I did this, or I'm sorry that I reacted this way. I'm going to do better next time.
Or like, let's figure out how to do this together moving forward and not putting it
Right.
all onto you,
Let's
you know?
let's work together. Let's not work against each other.
Yeah.
And man, when I find that, I'm
I
never letting
know.
go.
Lock it up. I don't know. I don't
It's
know. I don't
incredible to think about.
like I think that I mean this could be a whole other topic as well, but like marriage again. Like, do I really want to do that again? I don't know if I do. I mean, you can buy me nice
Oh,
rings, you know, you can buy me a nice dress, buy me flowers every week. Literally, I never get flowers unless I buy them myself. Um, but I
nobody's
don't
ever
know if I
bought
would
me
want to
flowers.
get married again, you know? Like it's just such a
Yeah,
hassle to
I get that.
separate.
I can't say that I wouldn't. And for a long time, I said I wouldn't because of, I'm a
Yeah.
divorcee and I got married super young. Now that I look, I don't know if it's just wedding season or what, but I look at people getting married nowadays, like on Facebook and stuff, and I see the pictures and I'm like, man, it's so beautiful. These people getting married, sharing that day together. And I'm like, I'm a hopeful romantic. I mean, we both are, and even guys want that fairy tale wedding, girls dream of their whole life.
Just take me to
And
Paris. Take me on a helicopter. Like I don't need a wedding. I don't need fine.
it's crazy to think about because like you don't need the big special wedding with the white dress and the bridesmaids and the rooms and the big party to feel the same level of commitment. And that's something that I've lacked a lot in my life is just the commitment level. And
But the commitment isn't in the vows. The commitment isn't in a piece of paper. The commitment is every
yeah,
day showing up and being the partner that not only you want to be, but the other person deserves to have.
right. I know. You're
Because
absolutely
everyone
right
can say
about
they've
that.
been married, but who can say that they're actually committed? Well, I feel like that wraps up pretty much all that we wanted to say tonight. I think that there was a lot of um, little quotes or subtopics that we could go off on a whole other episode about. So if there's something that stood out to you guys in this episode, please let us know. We love the feedback. If it's negative, we'll just block you and we're not apologizing for that. But all the positive feedback, let us know in our DMs at the Sibling Trap on Instagram. Any last words, sir?
No, I feel like we hit everything pretty good, all the bullet points. Um, they're so cute, dude.
I'm
Yeah, I
sorry.
just if you guys have anything to add about men's mental health, make sure you guys hit us up. If you've had a lot of these same experiences, I really hope that I was able to, hit you on the heartstrings and get your mental thought process to just wrap around everything. And hopefully this definitely helps a lot of the guys out there that are suffering from a lot of the same problems in life.
And
But
pop
yeah,
into
that's
our
it.
DMs about that too. Like if you're feeling overwhelmed by life and you're just like, I don't know what to do about it, don't keep that to yourself. Like we're
Yeah.
here to meet you where you're at.
Mentally coaching is something I love to do for people. It's important to have friends that are actually there, that actually care to give you advice and real advice, not just talk shit about you. So yeah,
We'll
that's
see you
it. I
next
think
week.
we're good. Yeah. Bye everybody.
Thank you for listening.